Hey guys, and welcome to an Outer War episode. Today we have a spoiler talk video. I'm Nick, I'm with Daniel Reel and Liam Spronkin. What's up, guys? Today we have a spoiler talk video about a bunch of spoilers that have happened over the last couple of days, as well as we have our very own spoiler in this video.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, well,
Yeah,
we thought we'd start off by talking about some of the cards that have been spoiled to
some
add
of the
some context to our spoiler.
yeah,
So yeah, if you must skip to the end and see our spoiler, then go do it now and then come back and watch this. It'll be better for it. So cool, you're back. All right, let's get into it.
Alright,
So
so you want to go first? You want to do the first one?
yeah. All right. So first up, we have Rotten Old Buckler. So this is a brand new type of card, which is an offhand equipment. Um, and it's Blade Break 1, so for Guardian. So it confirms Guardian is in the set, which was kind of suspected, but now we know it's here. Yeah, I mean,
the
don't
most
really have a
interesting
lot to
thing about
say.
this card is what it implies, right? It
Yeah,
implies that there's a one-handed weapon that Guardian can use in the set. It's not a token, so you're supposed to be able to draft it. So the one-handed weapon has to be usable with two of them. And it also is really showing to us that there should be either a majestic or a legendary one-handed weapon for Guardian, or a majestic or legendary shield.
yeah. Like, the idea that I see is that there will be a better shield in the set because this is the most basic, most boring implementation of the idea possible. I think within the current
I think
rule set.
it's like it's
So
made to be like that boring so that it gets you hyped for what there is, right?
yeah,
Like
it's
the
meant to
idea is
introduce you to the concept, right?
yeah.
It's
So
like
saying
It's like you see equipment spoiled and it's an iron rot gauntlet, and you're like, oh, well, this is the stole equipment is. And it's
Yeah.
not. They just haven't shown us yet.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right? So
Yeah.
this is just a quick one we wanted to get out of the way. Would you like to go on to the next one, Liam?
Yeah, so our next spoiler is New Horizon. This is a legendary ranger equipment, another headpiece with Blade Break 2. While you have a face-up card in your arsenal, you have an additional arsenal zone. When New Horizon is destroyed, destroy all cards in your arsenal.
So this confirms what we had seen from the mat already. Everyone that's seen the armory mat that has the double arsenal zone. This is how we get the second card into the arsenal zone. It might not be the only way, but this is currently the most displayed information way that we know.
Yeah.
Which is
Like I think the most interesting thing about this card is that it is a headpiece. So I think it
Uh,
poor Azalea. I don't think she's quite gonna wanna give up Scob and Crosswrap because it's just so instrumental
The cross wrap is the
for
strongest part of Azalea currently, right?
yeah.
So
yeah.
repetitive
So I
opt
don't
is a
think she's
very,
gonna
very
give
strong
this
effect.
up. So, for all those Ranger fans hoping for that second or Arsenal slot for Azalea, I think you're gonna be slightly disappointed with this card.
Yeah.
But for Lexi, this card it seems potentially very powerful.
It seems very powerful paired with her current weapons that have instant abilities outside of their own turn of
Yeah.
putting cards into arsenal face up.
Yeah, and we're seeing that
And
like
every bow we've seen, right?
Yeah.
yeah, we've seen now that like she's gonna have like a lot of block 3 attacks and actions as well, so she should be able to stop
Actually,
command
all
conquer.
her non-attack actions are block twos so far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
she
it's
should
like
run a lot
Azalea,
of
right?
attack actions.
All your attack actions are block threes, or your non-attacks are block twos.
Yeah, and it is still Blade Break too.
Yeah.
So
The Cursive Ranger has to be Blade Break.
yeah,
You can't have
Not
proper
only that
command
is
blocks.
after it's destroyed, if you have any cards in your arsenal, they're gone. So
Yeah.
like you're not blocking with this for as long as possible. And if it is
Or
destroyed
actually,
by
I kind of think you want to block with it pretty strategically around 10 to 5 life, because you don't want to be forced into a situation where you're playing off a one card hand and your arsenal card, and
Yeah.
you have to block with a New Horizon to stay alive, because then you lose your turn. Right? You don't
Yeah.
get to keep the arsenal card. So you want to lose it when you've got no card in arsenal to lose,
Yeah.
and you can keep playing the game after that, and you're not forced to
Yeah.
break it to save 2 life and potentially lose the game from losing your arsenal card at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
okay, yeah, that makes a little sense. All right, should we move on to the next card?
Yeah, give
Which
Nick a go.
Nick?
Yeah, so we have Shock Charmers, which is the next legendary that has been spoiled for the set, and it is a lightning equipment for arms. So whatever heroes have access to the lightning in their ability, which is the essence, will be able to use this.
Is this
It's
the first talent equipment we've seen?
Yes, so this is the first talent equipment, which is no way.
Actually, no, we've seen like Evan Fold and Karen Husk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is
okay,
I think
yeah.
Yeah,
So
thank
this is
you.
the first one from Arya.
Yeah, this is the first one
So
from Arya.
there's also like the light talent equipment of
Yes.
like Halo and stuff.
This
Halo
would make
especially.
me guess
Yeah.
that there is most likely an Earth one as well, or Earth one plus an Ice
Ice?
one, of course. Yeah. But the effect on this is instant, cost 2 resource. The next time an attack action card you control hits a hero this turn, it deals 1 damage to them, and it also has Spell Void 2, which stops 2 arcane damage.
And I think
from a single
Daniel's
source.
got the intricacies of this interaction down. It's something I didn't
Okay.
really understand where I read the card, but Daniel worked it out.
So the way this works is that the meat of the card is the instant 2 cost ability, right? So one of the most important things to realize is that you can actually do it multiple times. So if you have 4 resource, you can use the ability twice. And although it doesn't look like much, it's just like 1 damage. Like that's a pretty terrible rate when you compare it to like say Metacarpus nodes, which is 1 for 1 damage. The reason it's strong is that the other Ranger cards seem to key off damage dealt in instances rather than hit triggers. So when we look at the next card, which I'll go over, Ice Storm, Ice and Lightning Fusion. We'll go over that in a sec. Your next attack gains +3, and if Ice Storm was fused, your next arrow attack this turn gains. If this hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them. So that's your separate instance. And then whenever this attack deals damage to a hero, create that many frostbite tokens under your control. So when you hit, that's 1 instance of damage. Then when Ice Storm triggers, that's a 2nd instance. And then if you use your Shock Charmers as well, that's a 3rd instance. And if you use it multiple times, it's your 4th, your 5th instance. So you're not just creating 1 frostbite token, you're making 2 or 3, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's a really good way of pushing those on hits that on damage dealt instead. One of the interesting part about this card is the Spell Void 2. It's strongly suggesting that there is a hero which can deal multiple amounts of arcane damage in the set.
Yeah.
So like a wizard or something, which I'm super hyped about. I really want to see what that card is.
Yeah.
But it could also Daniel did point out to us that there was like Even Fold in the last set, which had Spell Void 2, which was only for
Yeah. The thing is Monarch did have arcane damage as well, and it did have multiple instances of arcane damage in that set as well. Sure, like it was Vexing Malice, which is 2, and Inverted Existence, which was 2, but there is sources of arcane damage that were more than 1, right?
Yeah.
Which does say that whatever this is, it might not be a big one that we need to block out. It might be a small hero, like a small wizard that does physical attacks and light arcane damage, right?
Yeah.
Something like a battle mage or something.
I think a wizard hero is quite likely, but I think LCS is also showing that they're more willing to put arcane damage bundled in with other classes.
Yeah.
So
you
like
don't have to sacrifice all your equipment if you're playing Blitz, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think you mentioned the next spoiler already.
And I guess that leads into frostbite tokens.
No, you haven't really talked about Ice Storm yet.
We'll talk about Ice Storm's fusion. So
yeah.
You want to read that one out?
Alright, so as an additional cost to play Ice Storm, you may reveal an ice and a lightning card from your hand. So we've seen a variety. We're only talking about some cards in this video, but of cards that have this fusion ability where you have to reveal another card of the element it's asking for. So very much like Flock of the Featherwalkers.
Is this the first one that actually demands a 2 reveal?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so for all the other ones so far have been Ice Fusion or Lightning Fusion or Earth Fusion, right? Like, we haven't actually seen any Earth Fusion, but this one is a double one, which you actually have to reveal 2 cards. Like, if you choose to do the fusion, you actually have to reveal an Ice and a Lightning card. You can't just choose to reveal one.
Or there could be a card which is Ice and Lightning. I think it's very possible we see something like that, with like a mediocre effects, but is Ice, Lightning, and Earth.
I think the way it's reads to me, it says Ice and a Lightning card, not Ice or lightning card, or ice with a lightning card.
But if you reveal one, it fulfills both requirements, right?
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Well, you reveal once that fits the first requirement, reveal it a second time, and it fits the first
Yeah,
card.
but if the
I
card
think it's
has-
demanding 2 cards to be revealed, right? That's the way I read it.
It doesn't say you have to have 2 different cards though.
Yeah.
So it can be
you
the
just
same one
reveal the
revealed
same card
twice.
twice. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like the most important card like aspect is it kind of shows like what the fusion is going for. It's not it's a bit like Bolt and Soul ability, where it's like an added cost to get an additional effect. So in Bolton's case he could charge a card which would use a card from your hand to put into your soul. In this effect, you're limited by having multiple cards of different types in your hand. So when we're building these elemental decks, we're going to be looking at building up big turns where we have a variety of different cards that we can fuse together. So you're not going to be super happy to just go, I'm just going to attack you for like 4 or something, and I'm not going to have to pitch one card, and I block the other 2, so I'm not going to be able to fuse and get less value out of your cards. You're going to be on it to play like 3, 4 cards. So you pitch one, you get go again, you fuse one as an attack action, and you just go have these really big turns. So maybe you play like 1 turn on, 1 turn off, 1 turn on kind of deal to set up.
Yeah, I think it also introduces difficulty in deck building because you're going to want to have a certain density of these cards to reveal. You don't want to be drawing these highly impactful fusion cards without being able to reveal for them. They're not a great rate. For example, this one is just Nimblism if you don't reveal a card. And that's, like, as we've seen, not a particularly constructed playable card. Very few decks will actually pick that one up. But then if it is fused, you get your next area this turn gains, if this hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them, and whenever this attack deals damage to a hero, create that many frostbite tokens under their control. And that's frostbite tokens are a really good way of attacking resource light decks, because whenever it's frostbite, the token, which reads cards and activated abilities you control cost an additional resource. At the beginning of your end phase, or when you play a card or activate an ability, destroy frostbite. So if these get stacked up on you, you can end up paying quite a lot of resource for something that would normally cost not necessarily a lot. Example, Kadachi with 3 frostbite tokens would cost 4 to attack. Yeah.
I think like where this is like where actually like a lot of skill comes in is like knowing how many frostbites you actually want to hit against certain decks. So let's say against like I don't know, let's say warrior. 1 frostbite token is going to be really good against them because they play really resource light and they want to just push through a lot of reds. Just one is going to be really powerful, but putting a second one on them is not nearly as impactful as the first one. So, but then if you like contrast that with some other decks, like maybe Viserai or defensive decks like Bravo, putting 1 on them isn't really that much of a bother. They can block around it and club you back. You know, they can still Anathos for 6 off 2 blues. So you're gonna have a different breakpoint of frostbites to affect different decks.
Yeah, you're gonna need more than 2 to hit Bravo, right? To actually be impactful to their 2-card hand.
I've just had a real quick real-time thought. Nick, so playing a defense reaction is playing a card, right?
Yep.
So for example, with Shiver, you can activate it to give them a frostbite token before attacking, which means if they want to sink below your attack, they now have to pay 1, which is a really, really strong effect, because when you play a card...
That is true.
So playing these free defense reactions is suddenly really, really costly if you have a frostbite token sitting there already.
Yeah. That does work with the current rules, but
it does work with the current rules. I imagine we'll see something more thorough about it.
This will land because there are in like the advanced rules, it has been like hinted that they want to rework how defending with defense reactions work to basically get around the flick flack interaction, which works because you play defense reaction, so you can react to flick flacks to get the effect. They want to change the rules so those kind of interactions don't work. So there might be a future where this doesn't work on defense reactions, but currently it does.
At the time I'm making this video.
At the time we're discussing this is...
It seems like one of the stronger ways to use Shiver to me.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to force on hits, and if you're using Dominate at all, which you obviously can't do both with Shiver, but say you can get Dominate some other way from a card not get revealed or something like that, or make Frostbites before you attack some other way, then you can really force through those on hits if you think your opponent's sitting on a defense reaction in Arsenal. Like an unmovable costing 4 is a really, really poor rate.
Yeah, like to me, like the function of Frostbite token is it's like the Dawnblade counter of this deck, right? It's something that once you have the tempo, you can push these through and keep it. You know, it's your way of staying in the game and making your opponent like respect you. Right.
So one of the big themes of what we've seen so far with the elemental cards, I think, is for those familiar with Magic anyway, the style of Death and Taxes decks, which is where you tax your opponent's resources in an unusual way, such as making them cost more or denying them the ability to play a certain way. You gain your impact in your cards from not necessarily having like strong power, such as like an E-Strike for 7, right? It's just massive power. You gain it from having these good 5 attacks that pressure your opponent into playing how their deck normally wouldn't.
Yeah, and some decks are a lot less prepared for that. And we'll go into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So the last of our main like already spoiled cards that we're going to go into today is Chilling Ice Vein. So if you'd like to go ahead with this one, Nick.
So yeah, Chilling Ice Vein is it's in red, but we assume it's in all 3 colors. It costs 1, it blocks a 3, and it goes 5 for 3. I assume with the way the colors work for it. Arrows you control can only be played from Arsenal, which is if you control bow as well, which is pretty typical. It has Ice Fusion. You may reveal an ice card as an additional cost to gain its fused effects, which is whenever an attack deals damage to a hero this turn, they discard a card unless they pay resource.
Yeah.
Which is
another resource denial style effect.
Yeah.
Just on a different angle to the Frostbite token. So you're making them pay resource for their actions on their turn with Frostbite token, and you're making them pay resource
to keep cards in their hand.
to keep cards from their hand as well.
Yeah.
So they can't like lump that cost either on a single blow or something.
Yeah.
This is like good things and bad things to me. Like so like if this gets played, I mean, you're in a bad position. The scenario I'm talking about is a bad position already. But if you're Prism and you have like what's the card I'm trying to think of? Library in hand and something already in Arsenal, and this gets played against you, you just go, sweet, we get rid of that library. That's bad. That's not good right now. Like if it's a real late game,
lets you filter cards that don't block, for example.
Yeah, but generally speaking, this is like you just refill up your deck, right?
I don't think that's a issue at all for the card. Because the way it works is like if they're in that situation late game where they don't want these no block cards, they then have to take 5 anyway. Or so the breakpoint's not really good.
Right? 2 if they're blocking 3.
But then you're still getting 2 cards and pushing 2 damage.
Yeah.
Like it's the reason why I've enjoyed Brute for so long, right? Is these cards which let you make your opponent block 2 cards. So Chilling Ice Vein makes your opponent block 2 cards or gets an equipment block.
Yeah.
It just really throttles your opponent cards in hand because they're losing a card no matter what if you fuse this. And it's whether they decide to lose 2 cards and take no damage or take 5 damage and lose 1 card.
Yeah, and like especially if you take the damage on this, you actually do open yourself up to getting punished even further. Because you take the damage and then you activate your Shock Charmers. This actually triggers that effect twice, because this is the when it hits and then triggers off instances of damage dealt. So if you Shock Charmers this, you get 2 triggers of discard a last card unless they pay 1. And a lot of decks, right, they might have like a red card that they might want to block with, that they would have been happy to have pitched to this, to prevent that. That way they just take the 5 and they only pitch 1 card. Like let's say Chain with a red Demigod in hand that you can't banish, he might really want to just pitch that 1 card and block it. If you up it to 2 and then you're threatening their resource cards, right? So if the deck isn't running that many blues, they're forced to pitch those higher pitch cards that they might want to keep in their hand or discard cards, right?
I just want to talk quickly about the additional cost on fusion. So the best way to build a deck that wants to fuse cards is to have the card that you're revealing be good to Arsenal. So you're not sitting there with an extra card in hand that's dead. You want Arsenal at the end of turn. Or now with Shock Charmers, you want to be pitching it to activate that shock charmers. You don't want to be sitting there and just keeping 3 cards, only playing 2 of them. It's pretty inefficient.
Yeah.
So it's definitely another way of making you consider about deck building is what cards you're going to reveal and what other use do they have to you. Like, can you arsenal it or can you pitch the shock charmers?
I can see someone playing this card and you go, oh sweet, we'll just block 5, and then someone just goes, pitch blue, raise a reflex, activate shock charmers, and you just go, ah.
That's a whole hand. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, like, just quickly about the fusion mechanic is it does feed back into my criticism of the current design of these subclasses is that they seem to be pulling in on themselves, right? So if you play ice fusion cards, you want to play lightning cards, and then those lightning cards make you want to play ice cards. There's not much reason to play other cards. So you're not going to really want to play many Azalea arrows, just regular ranger attacks in this deck, because you want all your cards to fuse off each other. And it's the same with like Bolton and Chain, right? With their banishing shadow cards and revealing light cards to Lumina and whatnot.
Much more so Bolton, I think, from what we've seen.
Yeah.
Chain's quite happy sitting on like half generics. Whereas Bolton really wants to not miss on those Lumina hits. Like we're seeing people cut down to like 9 generics in the deck maximum, right?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I think we are seeing like this game design of the subclasses want to stay majority their cards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which
So I think, should we move on to our last one?
Yeah. So we have our spoiler, and Daniel, you're gonna read it out to us. This is very interesting.
Big reveal moment.
Our big reveal.
Yeah.
Okay, so our card is Winter's Bite, and this kind of feeds into this Death in Taxes style gameplay that we're talking about. So it's a 0-cost ice action. The blocks 2, and it reads target hero discards a card unless they pay 3 resources. Go again. I think this card is like a lot of utility. You know, Liam was just talking about great cards that you would want to reveal off fuse and then be happy arsenaling. This is exactly one of those cards that you'd be happy arsenaling, because at next turn you have that immediate tax on your opponent by playing it, and then you can arsenal something else and just come at them with already like an effect in play. So
this is like guaranteed getting the card from hand. So like you either reveal it off the thing, and then next turn you're getting a card for 1 card, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to point out it is a common, so it will go through red,
3,
yellow,
2,
blue,
1.
making your opponent discard unless they play 3, 2, or 1, right?
Yeah.
Which makes the blue like not an unreasonable rate to play either. And it's a blue block too, which is kind of mediocre. But just
it still gets
a blue
card,
that makes
right?
your opponent like discard a card or pay 1 resource is still like fine.
Yeah.
It's slightly worse versus Tunic decks when they have that Tunic resource up, but then I don't think you're playing a card in that situation anyway.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think we might see something like a Riftbind if we see more of the style effect. So there's non-attacks with Go again.
It does have that Seeds of Agony feel, right?
Yeah. So like an elemental card that cares about how many you've played. It's not Ranger only. So if the Wizard, for example, cares about how many ice cards you've played for an Avalanche or something, right? Then we might see this style of effect used more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd just like to say, like, the floor of it doesn't seem that great, right? Like, it's a guarantee. Like, the red is a guaranteed 1-for-1. The blocks 2. It's like, so and so. The value that you have to get out this card is like from the fuse effect. So you want to reveal this to a fuse to get that added bonus, and then once you've got that added bonus, you can just bank on this being a 1-for-1 the next turn, and so you can set up your big fuse, punish them this turn, they take an off turn, and then you're going to hit them back right away with a 1-for-1 from Arsenal, and then you're going to play a 4-card versus their 3-card hand.
And I think yellow on this is hitting really good breakpoints with the 2 resources. It means people can't pay for it off Tunic. They can't pay for it off a spare red in their hand that they won't be able to play anyway. Not a lot of decks are running yellows, so they can't pitch efficiently to it. And then your deck is looking like a lot of 1-cost arrows with 1 bow activation. That's 2 resource and it's pitching for most of your deck again. Also what we're seeing in Ranger. Azalea currently, and what we've seen from Lexi already.
Yeah.
So the yellow to me is looking like a really, really solid slot to play. Probably
Yeah.
less so on the blue, but depending on the density of fuse cards you need, it's probably a good option to look to.
Yeah, and a lot of the other ranger cards seem to like queue off these on hits and pseudo on hits that rely on your opponent not being able to block very well. Making them discard cards or pay cards to these kind of effects before you attack is one of the really good ways to be able to force these cards through. Because if you're playing this and then you're leading, let's say you play this and then you fuse a,
Up from before.
gosh, what's it called? The
Chilling
Chilling
Ice
Ice
Vein.
Vein. And then you fuse and attack with Chilling Ice Vein. They have to block 3 cards to stop your whole turn,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's just like another way of just like forcing your opponent to respect what you're doing.
They
I
have
think
to.
it's
They have to block with 3 cards. Like, well, they have to get rid of 1 card and then block with 2 cards, or they lose
Yeah,
their whole
yeah.
hand, right?
I think it's also a
Well,
good way of getting tempo back from these hyper aggro decks, such as Katsu
yeah.
aggro. So a lot of the time when you're behind versus Katsu and you threaten 10 damage, they're not going to care. They're going to push back for 15 or 20 or something like that. You're going to have to block out. But if you play one in Winter's Bite, you take a card out of their hand guaranteed, which is not something you can do with an attack. You just get to take a card. You get to relieve some of the pressure because Katsu's 3-card hands are much worse than its 4 and 5-card hands.
Yeah.
So even playing this as like a solo turn when you're way behind is like a quick way to start regaining tempo in a game where you're losing.
Yeah. And it's kind of it's like kind of similar with Chain, right? Where Chain wants to keep a lot of his cards or keep his like resource cards. So if you tax one of his cards or his resource card and then attack him with on hits, he's going to feel really pressured to block something, which is ideally like not what the Chain player wants to do.
Yeah.
This gets around Carrion Husk as well, you know,
Yeah.
for that 5-card hand, with their
Yeah.
Time Walk. So
Also with
yeah,
Flock of the Fearhawk is seeing a lot more play. It needs 3 cards in hand if it's sitting in hand. It needs one to pitch, it needs one to reveal, and it needs the Flock. So if
Yep.
you take one of them away, then they can't block into your attacks if they want to keep that Flock as a
Yeah.
playable card at all.
Yep.
So a
feel
lot
like
of the time, I think
the
you'll
flock
see
come out.
you'll see the Flock get pitched to
Just
this
discarded probably.
or discarded, yeah. But that's like a lot of the early game pressure we're seeing out of chain decks at the moment, so it's a good way of negating that.
Yeah. I think with going into this, like, I think the chain decks are going to have to change a lot to be able to be anything with this deck. A lot of the cards we're seeing right now, like frostbite tokens, these discarding cards, really punish the chain's like hands and ability to play a bunch of things the next turn. And surely, like, the chain does well off minimum hand or lots of cards in hand at the same time for the frostbite tokens, but yeah.
Lexi's going to be the savior of mid range. I'm calling it now. We're going to bring back
I hope
Brute.
so.
We're going to bring back Brute. We're going to bring Ranger into things. We're going to have Guardian. We're going to have a good old mid range showdown. It's going to be
If Lexi
fantastic.
saves Rhino, I'm going to have to collect all the cold foils. You know that. Yeah, just as the savior.
She's going to be his angel. She's
Yeah,
going to take away all
win a
the.
cold foil hero, Daniel, I'm going to have to buy this one off you.
She's gonna say no to the bad men. Get out of here, Agro Katsu and Jane.
It's definitely looking a lot more exciting than we like initially anticipated. Like so
Yeah.
far, like I'm actually quite blown out of by the water by like a lot of the cards that have been revealed for her.
Yeah, it's quite a big change from the sort of linear attacking style of a lot of the Monarch decks. So you see a lot of these decks that have come out of Monarch just looking to attack. So Chain's looking to banish cards, it's looking to attack and kill you in 8 or 9 turns maximum.
Big hits,
Levia is
wanted
wanting
just
to keep
damage, right?
Levia's wanted to keep 4-card hands and 5-card hands and just keep banishing cards and killing you without ever really wanting to block once it gets going. Bolton's wanting to play hyper aggro and play 3 or 4-card hands off the tunic counter. And then your Prism functions very poorly off 3 and 1-card hands, so it's wanting to keep 2 and 4 and just swing at you. So I think getting these cards which tax you for 1, such as Winter's Bite, make a big difference to the meta we've seen coming out of Monarch, and I hope it should shake it up quite a lot coming into the next set.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
mean,
excited.
I think you're absolutely right with how the game is currently, but I actually don't think you're quite right. Overall, because you're saying that these decks are aggro. The way these Monarch decks are shaped currently is because of a response to how aggressive Chain can be. So, Bolton is like super aggressive because Chain is super aggressive. So, if the meta slows down a bit, we might see different types of builds. Like we could
Yeah,
see the
that's
Aura
kind of what I meant,
Prism,
right?
we can see the Sabers Bolton. So they can go different ways, but they've just been skewed really hard one way because there hasn't been enough ways to punish being super aggressive.
Yeah, that's what's kind of meaning by the meta shift, as it's going to
Yeah.
shift into ways that protect more against the style of denial rather than protecting just purely against damage or racing damage.
Which honestly I think is a dimension that the game has needed. Like I think the game has suffered a little bit underneath chain, and I think it's time for the crown to be moved.
Mhm.
Different type of gameplay to become the norm.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be looking forward to testing some of these cards as soon as we can get hold of them. I think Nick's going to be our local card supplier of Towers of Aria.
Yeah.
Especially as we won't have any large events once the set comes out before Nationals. So it'll be purely... The
In-house
Nationals
testing.
meta is
What
going
we
to be
have,
really, really interesting. It's going to
Yeah.
be just what playgroups come up with and test locally.
Yep.
You're not going to see any road to net style events or calling events.
Yeah, no, all the
that-
deck lists will be hidden up until that point, right? Like, we're not going to see anything. There's going to be no
Yeah.
road to net top 8 list to go, oh shit, look at that.
Yeah.
You know, we should be playing this way. This is way better than what we've
We
filled
get to
of.
see, sort of the Jason Long from last Nationals chart with his Claws Rhino, which I'm still disappointed he didn't make top 8 on. But that's sort of a lot more of that sort of unknown style of deck coming in that you won't know if you're not testing versus these top deck builders around the world.
Yeah, I think it's going to be especially interesting, like now that we know that a Guardian is going to be in the set, because the current Guardian that we have is a pillar of the meta. Like he's just been consistently strong, although not always very commonly played, consistently strong throughout the entire game's lifespan. So if there's a new Guardian put into the mix that maybe attacks from an opposite angle, the meta could like become very kind of like shaped around some of these new heroes, and it might not develop in a way that we'd expect with a more like open, everyone can see what everyone else is building environment. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for this set.
Yeah.
Pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where it goes.
I'm feeling, if you've seen the Out of War podcast, I'm feeling a lot better about Lexi after seeing some of these cards.
Yeah.
You know, still not quite my favorite hero, but my opinion of her has improved drastically.
I'm looking forward to the spoilers of the next few days. I'm feeling that tomorrow is going to be a Guardian day.
And by tomorrow, you mean the day we're releasing our spoiler.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. The day this video comes out. So there'll be...
We're time travelers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're always
We've seen
traveling
all of
forward.
the Lexi spoilers now.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, should we wrap it up there, guys? It's gone on a bit long.
Thank you guys for joining us on this awesome video of our spoiler and spoiler talks. If you like what we're doing, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe, and we want to do more of these. So hopefully, Alias says thank you for giving us a spoiler. Gives us more spoilers to do in the future, as this is something we're actually passionate about, really passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason we're able to do these spoilers is because people are watching, and LSS can see that people are watching. So, thank you to everyone that's been supporting us. It would be really cool if you continue to do so, and smash that like button, I guess. All right. Any last words, Liam?
No, I'd just like to really thank you guys for making this video, and keep reaching out and letting us know that you enjoy these videos.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Let us know if you want to see some more spoiler talk or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see you later.
All right, see you next time.